Great to have you joining me this morning for 10 minutes of morning calm. And today we're asking, as we're looking at the question, who's asking? And it had me thinking, we've been looking at this section of the book, Secrets of Heaven by Emanuel Swedenborg, where he talks about memory and how memory works when we cross over, when we go to heaven, and how our actual true internal memory are all these things that have deeply touched us in our lives, like beautifully touched us in our lives. And it might have been seeing an act of kindness. It might have been a beautiful sunset, those things. And then how do we live out of that place? That's the way that a heavenly memory works. It's not just a superficial memory of the facts of the day. But it's important to remember, again, like that true self, false self. It's the true self is where our true memory lies, and the false self is where all the different parts of just being human are. And it doesn't mean that this part is bad or wrong. It goes. It goes when we die. It's not something that we carry with us through all eternity. So it's important to ask the question, who is asking? And the background of this, I thought, was just really fun. I was listening to a podcast, and he was talking about, I believe it was Thich Nhat Hanh, and somebody was asking, am I enough? Am I enough? Am I enough? And Thich Nhat Hanh had the answer, well, first off, decide who's asking. And I thought, that's a beautiful way to see it, right? Because if we're asking questions of life from that superficial self, what Thomas Merton would call the false self, what Emanuel Swedenborg would call the corporeal self, if we're asking questions from that, certain questions like, are we enough, will probably never really be answered in any kind of satisfactory way. But then when we settle down from the true self and we start asking questions, it's just very, very different. And I think that the true self actually asks very different questions. I think a lot of the questions of our false self, we just sort of let them go. Like, just a basic one, like, am I safe? Well, at this level, we tend to think of, am I safe, meaning financial security for most of us, sometimes physical security, but we tend to look at a very superficial level. The true self wouldn't ask that question because the true self is safety, if that makes sense. It is swimming in that water where we're safe, where we're held, where we're known. And it gets to the true self lives in what is actually the underlying reality of all things. So all the worry up here, and then there's this underlying reality down here that we get to experience. Now how do you know what the difference is? I think when we go to the true self, a lot of questions just start to melt away. Asking the question, do I have enough money to retire, is not really a question that yourself would concern itself with. This would be a good thing to think about it at this level. But that question kind of disappears when we go to the true self. And the true self, I struggle with, does it even ask questions, or is it so just a place of being that the questions just kind of fade away? And not that we're not curious about life, but they just kind of fade away. And maybe if the true self is asking questions, it's more around the questions, not the surface level, am I loved? But the deeper question, am I being loving? Or how can I serve here? Or what is life asking of me now? All those questions that the decentered self, where we're no longer like the corporeal self, the little closet narcissist that all of us have within somewhere, some of us a little more than others, but it just isn't asking from that place anymore. So the beautiful part is, friends, is we can really choose to live life from that true self. That true self goes way back to the book of Genesis, where in the story of creation it says God made people in God's own image and likeness. That's the image and likeness of God stamped in our heart. And that's what the true self really is. It's the true self where it's not we're a drop of the ocean, but we're the ocean in a drop, if that makes sense. And my friend Jamie will point out, and I love that idea. It's where we're an ocean in a drop, where we know we contain all things. And the true self is just a very, very humbling place. Like it does not need to be right. It does not need to overrule other people. It does not need to, exude guilt and shame and judgment. It doesn't do any of those things. It just is. And I want to be clear. I think sometimes we do a disservice if we see a spirituality as like binaries, like either we're going to do one or the other. The fact is, our natural memories, our natural level of life is really important. It's the container and base of those spiritual things. But the trick is, again and again, don't live from the surface to the inward part. Live from the inward part and let that be exhibited out there into the surface. I mean, that's really one of the, I don't know, one of the top three parts of understanding the spiritual life. It's where we're no longer allowing this to define this. We're allowing this to define that. And it doesn't, that, and that means, of course, we don't solve all the problems. I think that's real important, but it definitely gives us a different way of holding them, in a different way, and a different, very deep level of peace, where we can start to address these issues as best we can. So, friends, may you have a day doing the best you can, living from the true self. When you have a little fear or anxiety pop up, instead of trying to combat it, just combat it a little bit today. Maybe just try it once. Just try asking, well, who's asking me that question? Is it this part or is it this part? Is it my head and all my worries and concerns, that natural level, or is it my true self, and self that really has found rest in God? Probably it's up here, I would imagine. So just think about that for today and live from the true self as best you can. So I hope that makes a lot of sense, friends. And what we're going to do now, as we always do, is we slow way down just to have some time to just think about the day and experience the beauty of the day and just love the day as it is. So let's all get a big breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's take a little quick peek here and see if anybody has joined us for a comment on Facebook. And as always, love to hear your comments, even if they're far later in the day, the week, or the month. It's all good. Linda, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well, my friend. And flipping on over here. All righty. All right. Larry, good morning. Chuck, headed up to Promised Land later today. Larry, that sounds like a wonderful day. Used to live up that way, for those not familiar with Promised Land State Park. Beautiful, beautiful place. All right, dear friends. Well, listen, wishing you all the very best, and just God bless you on your journey today. Have a day filled with lots of moments where you see the world from your true self. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.